In Super Bowl 55, we have perhaps the two biggest stars in the NFL going up against each other with Tom Brady and Patrick Mahomes. And obviously those two will have the biggest mark on the game. But if you've been watching the Bucs play the last couple of weeks, then you know their play also greatly hinges on linebacker Devin White. And he is my Super Bowl X Factor. We're going to go over why that is in this video. First off, White led the Bucs' high-energy defense in tackles this year. If you watch the guy, it seems like he's flying all over the field at times. Sometimes he comes out of nowhere and delivers a game-changing hit. Other times he's blasting through the line and racking up sacks. Even as an inside linebacker, he's still tallied up 9 sacks this year. And maybe the best thing about him? He's only 22 and is finishing up his second season in the league as a playmaking stud for a team in the Super Bowl. Before this year, White sort of flew under the radar, which unfortunately is pretty typical if you play in Tampa Bay, even if you were the 5th pick in the draft coming out of a big program like LSU. I mean, guys like Levante David or Shaq Barrett don't get anywhere near the praise they deserve, and it's been that way for a while. But White, with all the big plays he's been making on the big stage the last couple of weeks, he's starting to change that. People are taking notice of this Bucs defense. After White was snubbed for the Pro Bowl and understandably disappointed, Tom Brady told him there was a bigger bowl they were chasing. And poetically, here they are, hosting Super Bowl 55. There were some negatives though. At times this season, White was getting smoked in pass coverage. Most notably, he got torn apart by Drew Brees in the regular season. But still, nothing wavered his sky-high confidence. Even after missing the first playoff game due to a positive test, he made a prediction. He said, "When it's time to make the play, I'm going to make the play." This was against a Saints team that had previously embarrassed him. And what does he do? He recovers a fumble, then makes another prediction in the middle of the game this time. He said, "I'm going to put the dagger in them. Watch." It didn't take long for White to pick off Drew Brees and clinch a trip to the NFC Championship. In that game, he followed up with another stellar performance, this time getting 15 tackles and another fumble recovery. After that, he was asked if he figured he'd been introduced to the world now, and it sounds like he took Brady's words to heart. He said he didn't care what people thought of him anymore. It's about what he thinks of himself and what he puts on tape. And hey, looking back, White has always been putting plays on tape. Back in college, he once led the SEC in tackles, and his 40 time was 4.42. That's incredible for a linebacker. And that's exactly how he can defend multiple layers of the field. Now playing a team like the Chiefs, speed is essential. And White can provide that for the Bucs defense. You need a guy who can chase Mahomes down on scrambles and get to him quick. Because we all know what happens if you give Mahomes too much time. Suddenly, Tyreek Hill is the only player within a 10-mile radius of where Mahomes is throwing. We saw it in last year's Super Bowl, and we saw it earlier this year when the Bucs played the Chiefs. Now, when it comes to stopping the run, the Bucs have been one of the best in the league all year. That puts a lot of pressure on the Chiefs' passing game, which is probably what they would prefer anyway. At times this year, Clyde Edwards-Helaire and Le'Veon Bell have struggled to get going. Darrell Williams has essentially become their lead guy. In the secondary, the Bucs should get Antoine Winfield Jr. back in time, and White, along with Barrett and Jason Pierre-Paul, have to get pressure on Mahomes. Todd Bowles will have to stay creative and maybe get even a little more sporadic with the rate of his blitzes. I'm not sure there's a quarterback in an offense that's handled blitzes better this year than Mahomes and the Chiefs. When the Bills tried blitzing in the AFC Championship, Mahomes went 5 for 7 with 2 touchdowns. Luckily for Tampa, they're good at getting pressure one way or another. The main concern is how fast Hill and Kelsey will burn their secondary. I'm not trying to insult those defensive backs. It's just inevitable no matter who Hill or Kelsey are going up against. On the bright side, the Bucs did do a fairly good job at limiting Davante Adams. Hill is obviously a different type of receiver, but that's an encouraging sign for a secondary who also needs this extra week to heal up. Another great sign was the team getting off the field on third down against one of the best offenses in the league. We talked in the last video about how Brady got this team to believe. Well, now I think their own play can dictate that feeling as well. If we think back to the Bucs-Chiefs game earlier this year, it was certainly a tale of two halves. The Bucs' game plan that day was frankly terrible. I mean, it felt like they hadn't even watched the Chiefs for the past 2 years. Then in the second half, they started to come back and only lost by 3 in Kansas City. So in the end, not bad, and that honestly should give them some confidence for this game. This time though, they might want to actually cover Tyreek Hill and not just throw verticals for the entire first half. If things aren't working, they need to be able to adjust faster. That's actually one of the things I heard White say when I rewatched his post-game press conference after that November game against the Chiefs. It felt like he was almost speaking to the coaches. So far, the Bucs coaching and game planning has been much improved these playoffs, and if it does revert back to what we sometimes saw in the regular season, then the Chiefs could very well take the top off of this one. That being said, I'm hoping, and I do think it'll be a good game. I think we'll end up with a score similar to what we saw in the regular season. The question is, can the Bucs be on the other side of that score? This time it feels like the team found their identity. It might have taken a Chiefs loss followed with a bye week and a couple weaker opponents, but it seems they've found themselves on offense, which, believe me, if you look at the route variants run over the year, it has changed a lot. And on the defensive side, a young leader has emerged. A dynamic player ready to explode and take over a game. We'll see if White, along with the Bucs as a whole, will regress back to their former struggles, or if they will play like the high-powered team we've seen in recent weeks. With White's confidence, I'm sure he's envisioning another kill shot to end the game. One thing to remember though, these Chiefs aren't dead until that clock hits 0. It's going to take 60 minutes for those cannons to fire confetti, with Gronk hosting an impromptu Gronk party cruise aboard the stadium pirate ship. Should be a good one.